Hey there, welcome back to another card making video. And today I thought it would be good to make a get well card as a crafty friend of mine has been ill lately. So I printed out this greeting card Digi. This is the RN Ian, and they also have a Dr. Ian, and then they have a doctor and a nurse Anya as well. So depending on whatever your character preferences are. And these colored entirely with Uhuhus. Um, the brown here is Warm Gray '05, which I don't think I've talked about, but it's a really nice sort of pinkish brown. You can also use it over skin tones. As you can see, he's pretty red. But if you use either the Worm Gray 1 or the Worm Gray .5, like they'll either take it to like a brown or a gray overtone. So I think I don't know, I think in some of the cards I've given away, I've done that. Anyway, and then I just used a little colored pencil to color in his clipboard. That's why these guys are here. Because basically you can use any kind of colored pencil over your coloring when you're done, and it's also a way to add more fine detail if that's your thing. So I just have him here now, and then he's cut out with the scan and cut, as are most things now because I hate fussy cutting, and now that I have a machine that does it, that helps quite a bit. I thought we'd go with sort of a spring color palette because I think this kind of works with the browns nicely and also his skin tone. Um, So I grabbed some Catherine Pooler Serenade to work on the background. And this is a stamp set. Oh, let me grab this so you can see it better. From Artful Angel, The Big Get Well Soon. It was the same release as The Birds. So not the most recent release, but the one before that. This whole set is really good. I think there's a birthday one and a thanks one. I finally found my thanks one that it went missing because I was almost about to rebuy it. But basically, the way these words are set up, I think we're going to want our nurse sort of over, you know what I'm saying, kind of over here on the card, and then I'll just sort of let the get wells fill in the top to do the background, and then I'll pick some sub sentiment probably to go there. This is a standard panel, 4 by 5 1/4, and I think this is the Nina. It's a little tricky because I've been testing a whole bunch of papers if you've seen the other videos on my channel lately. But the hammer mill is both whiter and it's hard to see because I've colored this, but the white is whiter than this. The thing that really I like the feel of the Nina better, but the thing that I think really just shows you a real difference between this one and some of the other papers is that it's slightly more off-white. It's less bleached, so depending on your likings, you may or may not like that. I guess we will put our magnet here, and then we're going to have to try and figure out where we want our words exactly. And it's fine if they get covered up. These are also pretty easy stamps to use, just because they're almost the same front to back. So yeah, what I want is a little bit of a border, but we shall see. And then this one just says get well. And here's the soon. Then we'll just grab this one. Some of these I've actually used. I don't make get well cards that much, but it's sort of one of those things when the need arises, you kind of want to have them. One of my friends was saying that basically it's like by the time you make the card, half the time people are better already, but that's much better than the alternative. I don't know if we need a sub-sentiment here, actually. I was thinking the one that says, I heard you were under the weather. But we could just use that on the inside. Maybe we'll do that on the inside, and there's a cute little umbrella we might use with that as well. So I think I'm just going to respace these a little bit. And decide what we're going to do. I may move these around a little, because this says get well soon, and this says get well soon. So I think once our Ian is in place, I guess I should say the male and female characters in Greeting Farm are named Ian and Anya, so that's why he's an Ian. And yeah, I think that should work. I like the spacing. I'd almost like this more over. But we could sort of justify this, do more of a right justified look here, I think. Because then he won't block that, and then I'll move this over, and I think that'll be fine. And we don't necessarily, like you don't necessarily need all of it. That part's going to be covered, but the soon shouldn't be, so I think that should work. Anyway, that's one of the neat things you can do with this particular set is you can basically make a, or I could use the actual tool design for this. There you go. And these are all here. These tend to stick a lot because they're such bold words. And I wanted to go with a little bit of lavender to kind of match the card base, mostly. I didn't color the RN with lavender. In retrospect, it would probably have been good to use that as sort of the scrub color, because then it would have really matched, but you know how it is. Hindsight is 2020. And these are... And because I'm bad at this, I always kind of make sure the words are right side up, because it's really easy to do them upside down and then basically have to flip the card base and try again. But you do get two sides. And we have a little, since some of these haven't been used before, the fact that these are a little blotchy isn't really surprising at all to me. As stamps tend to, as you use them, basically some of the coating that comes from the factory that causes the ink to bead up like that wears off, and then you don't really have to worry about it anymore. I'm not really worried about the, see, cute pressure tool. Anyway, I'm not really worried about some of the other stuff going on here, and I think one more stamping, and I think we will be good with this. And I feel like this is sort of where something like a Misty really pays for itself, because it's like, well, it would be very tricky to do without one, and I think we're good. I'll use my other favorite tool, this Ink on 3 Ink Off, which really makes it easy to clean this up. It's basically just an ink pad impregnated with cleaner, but it does a pretty good job. This starts out white, and you see what color it is now. So, I am a fan. I need to I may get a second one at some point soon, although I have some re-inker, but um, I would like to have a backup just in case. So there's that, and then we can move this. All the Catherine Pooler inks are pigment inks, so they dry very well and pretty quickly. As you can see, I have a little black still on my Misty somewhere, but shouldn't be an issue for us. Going to put these back while I'm thinking about it, because I have a really bad habit of not doing that, and then you are sort of like, I wonder where that stamp went. Making sure I put the correct side down is always, it's always a challenge for me with like word stamps, just because they tend to have uh, both sides flat. Although not in this case with this last set, but anyway, there we go, all better. And the rest of this should come together pretty quickly because all we really need to do is put it together. Now, I think we may do a little ink blending just to sort of bring a little color around the edges. I'm going to use the same thing. Just use a light touch on my blending brush and just sort of bring in a little of that purple color. Um, I'm not trying to, I don't want this to be as dark as the sentiment. So this is just sort of just edging it nicely. It also breaks up the white, but the real thing that it does that's helpful is that it'll focus your eyes towards the center of your card because that's the where the lightest part is. And you can either leave it like this if you want to just lightly go over it and bring in a little more color. You can do that as well. Um, and these Catherine Pooler rings are nice because they sort of self-level and like even if you have splotchy bits, they tend to clean themselves out pretty well. Guess we should be using our cleaning on the inside of the Misty too. I don't know how I got ink on the side. That's sort of one of those mysteries of crafting life. You're like, I don't know how that happened exactly, but it did. The towel is, I would say, like nothing too unique. I mean, it's basically just a microfiber towel. So I think this will look really good because these colors to me are very close. So I'm going to get the panel down. Um, there we go. I always feel like the ATG rolls take a little convincing when they haven't been used for a week or so. There we are. And I tend to like to make sure I know what side the card opens on, because for better or worse, this ATG tape, like once it's down, it's like really down. So, ooh, that's really neat. The way this stamped, it actually added like some texture. Anyway, I think we'll want our Ian somewhere like that. You could also sort of hang him off a little bit if you wanted to. But I think this will be good. I will show you one trick once I have him down. Once I remember where on earth I put my glue. Ah, here we are. It was right in front of my face. Just pH neutral glue, but I like it because it gives you a little more working time to sort of get him sort of properly situated, depending on how this goes. I mean, I think it'll be. I think we'll just do like that. I'm going to push him up a little bit because one of the ways that you can kind of bring this together is if. Let's get the pin back in the glue bottle and then I will. There we go. And whenever you're using liquid glue, some type of a squeegee is helpful. I want to say that Sweet Sentiment makes sort of a press combo squeegee thing. I don't use this guy for squeegeeing because I like to keep the surface clean because the wood on this is really nice. But if you have a ergonomic bone folder or these are actually Chalk Couture squeegees, but they're, you can use any piece of silicone too. Anyway, what I was going to say is if you're mounting characters on cards and you want to give them a little more grounding, an easy way to do that is to just go in and just create a little bit of a shadow layer because that'll sort of ground them into the scene. Anyway, so that was a pretty quick card to put together with some cool Artful Angel stuff. The Artful Angel doesn't sell these digis, but they do sell a whole bunch of other Greeting Farm Ian and Anya things, so feel free to check them out for that as well. But here you go, pretty quick and easy get well card.